Hi, I'm Antimo Ianella and I'm real estate writer for The Advertiser, and I'm joined by Brock Harcourts Chief Executive, Greg Moulton.
Good morning.
Good morning, how's it going?
Going very well, thank you.
Great. Now look, there's been a lot of changes to the real estate market. There's a lot of developments going on. In particular, the real estate legislation, real estate legislation coming in.
Yes.
Changes to give more protection to consumers. What do you think are a couple of the biggest changes in regards to that?
Yeah, Antimo, it's taken up a fair bit of time over the last month or so, really trying to digest the new legislation. I'd just like to make two comments. One is I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic for our organisation. I think it's fantastic for our industry and for the consumer. And secondly, the work that Greg Troutman, the CEO of the Real Estate Institute, has put into it and informing us and keeping the communication through to us and our agents has been great. I'll just try and keep it fairly brief because there's a lot to the new legislation, but I think the two major changes that the consumer will see is pricing. No longer are we going to have a whole range of different price mechanisms. We're going to only be able to use three. So it'll be a price guide, or in some cases no price at all will appear in the paper. The price and the price guide will have to be at 10% above whatever's the highest out of the vendor's prescribed price. And the vendor in our sales agency agreements will be able to put in what they think their property's worth. And of course agents will as well, using current market analysis to help determine the pricing. So what we're going to see is consumers being able to go to the paper and know pretty much right on the money what that property is looking for to sell for. So that's very different to the current status where it's sort of some underquoting, some lower pricing in the paper, hoping that people come and then sort of we go up. So I think that's one key one. Sure. Do you want me to just run through the auction as well? Really transparent now, Antimo. We have to, every single bidder now has to register, so we know who's there on the day there to bid. Every bidder has then got to put their hand up or use a paddle with a number, and that number's now going to be recorded by the clerk. So I'm supposing that's for auditing processes later on. So there we go. So vendor bids, very clearly distinguished as a vendor bid, and only three of them. So the whole process now extraordinarily transparent. If you're looking at a transparent process, the auction's the way to go. No more sort of behind the scenes or bids from not too sure where they're coming from. It's all just absolutely there, recorded. We know who's there to bid, how much they're bidding, and away we go. And again, the pricing component for the auctions is exactly the same as I mentioned before, so we won't be underquoting it. We'll be telling people what we're expecting on the day and just letting the day sort itself out. So I think from the consumer's point of view, they've been the two major changes.
Sure. There's been some concern that maybe the pricing, that there will be not enough pricing on certain...
Yeah, no, I've heard that because no pricing is one of the three components. Yeah. I believe some of my competitors are actually going to go down that line. Brock Harcourts are going to put price on everything or use a price guide unless the vendor doesn't want us to. And that's just purely because we do think it's important from the consumer's point of view that they know approximately what they're looking for.
Sure. Now looking at the real estate market at the moment, how do you see it?
It's certainly levelled off. Again, still steady, good solid market. Cash rates are at 7.25%. We think the Reserve Bank will leave them for the rest of the year, but not to say that banks won't actually put them up themselves. So we still think interest rate rise or two may happen. Unemployment steady at 4.2%, and South Australia is extremely fortunate with the Olympic Dam coming on board. So the mining boom of, even though it's going to be 2-3 years before we actually see fruition, there's still that, that pump about it. Longer days on the market, and I think it sort of ties in with the pricing. Vendors have to be very realistic with what they expect to get, because that's now what we've got to quote. So if vendors and agents work together to get the right price for property on the market, I don't see any problems at all, and I think between now and the end of the year you'll actually see our market pick up a little bit towards Christmas.
Okay. What sort of impact do you think the legislation will have on the market? Will it have any at all?
Yeah, look, hopefully, and again, like I said at the very start, Antimo, hopefully the consumers will see the real estate industry as a stronger standing in society. I'm very much for it. I think consumers can go and buy property with far more confidence than they did prior to this new legislation. As long as the regulations allow us to implement it, in the correct manner, I think it'll be a good thing.
Great. Thanks for your time, Greg.
Pleasure.
And be sure to check out Greg Moulton. He'll be blogging next Wednesday, August the 6th from 10 o'clock, and he'll be answering all your real estate questions. And also check out the Advertiser today, the mid-year property guide, where we look at all the biggest growth suburbs and the biggest land sales and so forth. So, and an overview of the market. So thanks for your time. I'm Anto Marianella. This is Greg Moulton, and this has been Property Insider.